Hello, and welcome back to the Circus of Safety podcast. I'm Des, and I'm here with my co-host Brent. Brent, how are
Kia
you?
ora. Yeah, good, mate. Yourself?
Not too bad at all. And today we continue our special series in collaboration with the New Zealand Journal of Health and Safety Practice. And for this episode, I'm thrilled to be joined by Robyn Bennett, former president of the New Zealand Institute of Safety Management and guest editor of the journal's inaugural edition. Welcome, Robyn.
Hey, thanks very much. I appreciate having the opportunity to chat about the journal.
That's great. Thanks for joining us. And your editorial really sets the tone for a publication grounded in professional growth, critical thinking, and the collective wisdom of our field. And I'm just really interested in trying to understand what inspired you to come up with the title and write this editorial.
Well, actually, I think it might actually circle back to our one of the, I would say, health and safety royalty and the health and safety ecosystem, which would have to be Dr. Chris Peace. So originally, Chris used to, and when he was doing his PhD, he was originally publishing in the Journal of Policy and Practice in Health and Safety. That was originally funded by IOSH, and he was looking to publish some more articles in that journal. But since it was stopped funding, he essentially ran out of a vehicle to be able to publish health and safety journals or health and safety articles and abstracts related to the profession. So really it was a matter of Chris saying, actually, it would be great to have our own journal in place that is relevant to New Zealanders, that health and safety practitioners and professionals can have a look at and can apply from a practical context into the work that they do every day in New Zealand. So basically we went round cap in hand to the HASAN's membership and said, can you please help fund this? And thanks to Victoria University and also Joanne Crawford, the Journal of Health and Safety Practice was born out. So we actually have to say thanks to Chris for actually starting that particular journey as well. He originally, he was thinking about what the journal might represent for people. And he came, actually, it was Chris's daughter at the time who gave him a book called Mātauranga. And there was a Maori saying about being broad-minded. And I think that's really important for the journal because it underpins not just from an academic point of view, but actually a practical point of view as well. And how we can take that alignment between academia and people who actually do the work on the ground and how we can kind of connect them so that we can essentially apply the research that's out there as well.
Robyn, sorry, I'm going to step in here because
sure.
I can't believe Des led with that question, to be fair. Couple of things from me. Firstly, you're probably we've interviewed a number of people already in this special series. You're probably the first one to thank Chris for anything, to be fair. I think most people have sworn, cursed, and wished they never met the man for his persistence in dragging article. I think those were the words they used. He dragged the article out of me. But again, it's that perseverance, right, that has led to this journal, which is great to hear that backstory there. And you talk about, and we did touch on this before we sort of started recording. You talk about the whole purpose being around, joining the dots or bringing the two worlds of academia and practical application together. Now, Des introduced you as the former president of NZISM. Now, that's not all you do, is it? I mean, are you a practicing safety professional as well, or do you just kind of flit around the country, shaking hands, kissing babies, and doing all that kind of good stuff?
I don't know. I didn't get to kiss many babies when I was president, but you never know. No, I've been a health and safety consultant for, I want to say, almost 20 years now. I have an absolute love for audit and assessment. It's not everyone's cup of tea.
Definitely not mine.
You either love it or you hate it. So I have been a consultant, and I have some wonderful business partners in Rob and Jane McColl and John McColl as well. And we have a company called AvaPlus, which is primarily consulting. So I do mainly the auditing part of it, and Rob and Jane and John do other health and safety consulting. They're based in Dunedin.
Take my hat off to you for the auditing piece, because
thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
yeah. As I said, it's a love it or hate it thing, and I think that gives me a real opportunity. When I look back and, obviously I keep a record of the audits that I've done over the last 20 years, it's up into the thousands. And so
Wow.
I get a huge appreciation across New Zealand about the things that are working well, the successes in health and safety and employers from small to large, as well as where their challenges are and their opportunities. So when I talk about the profession, I'm thinking about the thousands of people that I have met over the last 20 years and the challenges that they've got. And one of the things that really brought home is that it's really difficult to get good research, which you can then take and apply. And anyone who's done any study, and I have to confess, I did 2 papers of Chris's risk management one, and I just about pulled my hair out trying to do that. But luckily, he was incredibly supportive. But when you leave academia or you finish your paper, you still want access to that information. You still want to know what topical research is out there, and then how you might actually apply it to what you're doing in your day-to-day job. And I think the journal actually kind of connects those dots.
It's funny you say that. I was sat at my desk this morning in my paid job because we don't get to shake hands or kiss babies in this gig either, let alone claim any kind of income from it. So I was sitting at my paid desk, and I've got some. I probably shouldn't disclose what I'm dealing with next week, but I'm dealing with something next week at work, and it was fascinating. One of the team that I'm working with on this thing next week sends me this email and says, "Oh, I haven't read this yet, but this might be helpful for what we're doing next week." And I opened the attachment, and lo and behold, it was a journal article. Oh, I was like, holy heck. I need to read that anyway because I'm doing an interview in a couple of weeks on this. But it was really cool, actually. And this individual that I'm working with, while they're in the health profession, they're not what I would consider a health and safety. They're not a health and safety practitioner. So it was really cool to see after all the work and interviews we've been doing and trying to promote the journal and get it out there to the masses. It was great to see it actually come full circle background to somebody not within the profession actually referencing and using the articles.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's free. That's the thing that's different to the other journals, is that anyone can. All you have to do is sign up to be a reader, and you've got full access to all the articles that are in there. And I think that's the difference, is that you can go through there and have a look and get access to these things. Otherwise you're using Google, which isn't always the most appropriate mechanism for getting solid research data around health and safety.
Yeah,
it's a real asset for us.
I tried ChatGPT, and the lawyer that I tried to argue with told me to get back in my place. So clearly it's not accurate.
Yep.
Sorry, Des, I took over. Sorry, mate, back to you, buddy.
That's all good. I'm glad you intervened, because I wouldn't otherwise have learned that Robyn had done 1,000 audits. That's a staggering amount of audits. Well done. And it kind of leads into the next question that I wanted to touch on, which is excellence in health and safety. Your editorial mentions that it doesn't happen by accident. It happens through ongoing professional development. So what does that word professional development mean to you?
Gosh, from a simple lens, it's about working out what you don't know and then filling the gaps. But it's a little bit more than that. I think, and I think as you mature a little bit and you get it, you've been in the profession a wee while. I remember 20-something years ago, I was just a sponge. I love to learn, and you end up finding that you get so many bits of information and so many useful things in your head, but you can't always recall where you originally read them from. So you're pretty sure you've got a standard right or a act right or something like that, but you often can't find it. And one of the things I learned in terms of professional development was actually maintaining my own library of articles and interesting things that have been produced over the years as well. When I worked for ACC, I kept a lot of the resources, and ACC, I want to say back in the early 2000s, produced some fabulous resources that I'm still hanging on to today in my library, because there's often a time where you can go back and reflect on what they had in there, because it's incredibly useful. But in terms of professional development, it's about developing a mix of things that are going to continue to allow you to focus where you need to be at this particular point in time, as well as where you are in the future. So at this particular point in time, I might do an audit and I might need to know ABC, in which case I will go through my library and I'll use the journal as well to go, okay, is there anything relevant in that I can apply to the job that I've got coming up? So that's from an immediate point of view. But I also take a long-term point of view as well, which is, where do I want to be in 10 years' time? And that might not be where I want to be today, and it might be where you want to be, Des or Brent as well. You might want to be in a different position. So it's about building up my knowledge now for where I envisage that I will be in 10 years' time. And if I could encourage the practitioners and the early professionals is to go, actually, where do you want to be in 10 years' time? What do you want to be group health and safety manager for Fonterra, or do you envisage yourself as a health and safety manager of a manufacturing company? Does that spin your wheels? And then you go, well, okay, what skills do I need? And they're not always technical skills. The skills that I needed 20 years ago are not the same skills that I need now. So it's about working out what you need and then using the available resources, of which one is the journal, to kind of facilitate that understanding. And there was some, really good articles in there, which is also around, for example, the health and safety ecosystem and our relationship with ACC as well. So it's about picking out the things that are going to support you in the now, but also support you in the future to where you want to be.
Wow. Hey, sorry, just got to jump in here again, Des. Goldfish. You spoke about hanging on to a couple of old ACC resources. Probably nobody from ACC is going to be watching this, so I think we're okay there. You don't by any chance still have access to the computer system with the exploding man by any chance, do you?
No, I don't, but you won't believe this. I'll show you what I've got. Do you recognise this?
Oh, yes, I've actually got some of them too.
I know. These things are like gold, absolute gold. And the fact that ACC produced such fabulous resources. I love the Exploding Man, as well as the workstation assessment one, but they retired that. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Where's it got? Like, what? Bring it back. We should start a Bring Back Buck kind of campaign, but for Bring Back Exploding Man campaign, right? And the works, the assessment. What? Honestly, that had so much gold in it.
It did, and it was really simple to use and really practical to use, and it didn't require a lot of training or understanding. You just basically moved the little slides and away it went. So a fantastic resource. But it's about, the people nowadays don't have the Exploding Man. So how do they get that information? And I see the journal as, we're going to build up, decades of useful research that people are going to be able to go back to and have a look at and go, actually, yep, this is really useful and this is where we've come from.
Oh, sorry, Des. Sorry, I've got so many things going through my head, Des. But how exciting is that too, though, Robyn? Also with the introduction of, say, AI, and the collation of all that. So you still need somebody to go out and do the research. Mm-hmm. You still need somebody to write the article.
Yep.
But in terms of what you're suggesting around the referencing of that material or the use of this plethora of data and information that's coming in, I guess that's where things like AI is going to really come into its own. If we can, I don't know, maybe score hundreds or thousands of dollars of funding for the journal, potentially they could, we could put some kind of AI search engine in there, which just could be massive, right? Really exciting times.
Absolutely, and there are those search engines out there at the moment that different organisations and also health and safety associations use. I was lucky enough to attend the World Health and Safety Conference that was held in Sydney. Was it last year?
Yep, I was there too. It was great.
Yeah, that's right, we were too. And just the development around cobots and robots and AI, you know it's coming. And as health and safety professionals, we really need to know what does this mean for us, not only from a practitioner point of view, but as a professional point of view. Are we going to be able to use this to inform some of the decisions or the recommendations that we make as health and safety professionals? It's a huge can of worms that's going to be opening up. But what I do like is that the systems that I've seen are able to restrict the AI search function to particular websites or to particular libraries of information. So that means you're not getting some of the random stuff that we're starting to see now. It's actually looking through research documents and other peer-reviewed articles and information, which means that the information that we'll get when we use AI is a little bit more robust and a little bit more thorough rather than what we've got, versus ChatGPT at the moment.
No, fantastic. Sorry, Des probably wishes I was an AI bot and he could shut me up. But back to you, Des. Sorry, mate. Carry on as you were.
I got to say, this is probably the easiest interview I've ever conducted because I've barely said a word. This is fantastic. And you've actually, in that conversation, answered the next couple of questions that I had lined up.
Sorry about that.
Better still. That's all good. But it's you're right that deepening our expertise helps us position ourselves as trusted advisors, and that's a theme that we've talked about on our regular show, rather than just enforcers of policies and procedures. What do you think it takes for a practitioner to make that shift to trusted advisor?
It's a mix of skills. We need to, and I think this is also dependent of where we are in our career pathway. Often we will come in as health and safety coordinators or health and safety advisors, and often that's a very technical, those are very technical roles in terms of, for example, around hazardous substance management or occupational hygiene assessments and those sorts of things, which do tend to be very technical, or at least give an indication where you know to get more specialist advice. But as we move through our careers, it's those soft skills. I was going to say it, that it's soft skills. It's about negotiation. It's about understanding the dynamic in your organisation in terms of what your role is. Are you a business partner? Are you an advisor? Do you have a more of a technical role, or are you basically the organisation's internal health and safety consultant? And on top of that, given that we've had the Tony Gibson case and a few other things that have happened recently, I think there's a lot more demand around health and safety practitioners and professionals to be able to inform upwards to their boards and their executives as well. So our skills aren't necessarily technical now. They're about reporting. They're about looking at data and getting insights. They're about the soft skills when we really want something and we have to negotiate for it. Health and safety is essentially about having all responsibility and no direct reports, and then convincing everyone to do what you want.
It's definitely a difficult position to work with, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You described the Circus of Safety to a T, Robyn. Trying to corral these other two is phenomenal. It takes so much energy and effort.
Yep.
Feel you.
So the editorial you wrote also mentioned the article that was written about the coffee industry and the what could be overlooked exposure risks. And you've already talked about occupational hygiene awareness, but how do you think that could be helped in sort of niche or emerging industries where that sort of awareness might not yet be present?
I think what Kerry and the team did with their particular article was that they looked what was happening overseas and then considered what that meant for a New Zealand context. And I think that's where we've got lots of opportunity for learning from, because it's about canvassing what is happening overseas and having those overseas connections so we know where the challenges and the risks are, and then coming back and going, okay, well, what does this mean for us in New Zealand? Do we have the same processes? Do we have the same techniques? Do we have the same issues that they have? And then going, okay, well, let's work it out. What does it mean for us? And I think that's probably one of the strengths of that particular article, was actually taking something that they've learned and applying it here in New Zealand.
Yeah, fantastic. Brent, any comment on that?
Oh, I don't know I was still allowed to speak. Sorry. It's almost like... So today's just been one of those days. So talking about, reaching out to, making those connections. And I think that's something, you started touching on, Robyn, about those soft skills. And again, it's not even so much, it's about, not just about the negotiating and the influencing, but it's also about making those connections, and Des tried to exploit mine this morning, in fact. I have worked really hard to build my network, and he just flicks me a text and says, "Oh, hey, I've got something I want to advertise in Canada. Can you hook a brother up?" And I'm like, dude, who do you think I am? The local directory? But it's so the soft skills are also the challenge there, right? So wide and varied. It's not just about the influencing, and it's about making those connections and forming those relationships with also not necessarily our own industry. And I was talking to somebody the other night, and I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. But often in safety, we hang out with safety people, right? I guess birds of a feather flock together, right? But effectively, we're communicating to the converted, aren't we? Everything you've said so far for the last 20 minutes, I've agreed with. because we're all singing from the same song sheet, and I think, one thing I would like us to kind of start thinking about as safety professionals, and around that soft skill space, is to put ourselves out there a little bit more, and go beyond the safe space. Really go into the unknown, into those worlds that we don't normally spend time in, and try to grow that space as well. So I think, again, that's where soft skills are, as we move forward, are so important. Around it helps us also get different perspectives, is where I'm going with that as well, right? So if we're constantly hanging out with the same people, constantly chewing the same fat, then we're never going to learn, right? So no, it's great, some great points there.
Yep. So just to expand on that a little bit, when I went to the World Health and Safety Conference, where you were at as well, I absolutely loved it, because, like many health and safety professionals, we tend to work in isolation. We don't often have that time to sit down and chinwag with other health and safety professionals. And my husband called it, going to spend time with my people. For some reason, he didn't want to attend 4 days of health and safety conference with me in Australia. I don't know why. But there is the relationship building. So I think it's kind of more complex than that. It's the relationships that we have with other health and safety professionals, where you can ring them up and say, "Hey, can you help me with something?" Brenton, I'm looking at you for that one.
Oh.
And also then that broader kind of health and safety ecosystems, in which I'm referring to the HAZANS register. So while people might just think of HAZANS as the register, what it also is a group of representatives from 16 associations across New Zealand, and that's the broader health and safety. So that's got your occupational therapists, your occupational physicians, your occupational hygienists, everything that's got occupational in the name. And what that means is that we can make, as part of NZISM, what was really valuable for us was to be able to make those connections and have those relationships, as you pointed out, with those people who we sit alongside but don't necessarily get directly involved with in terms of our day-to-day activities, unless there's a cause from it. So I have to wave a flag for HAZANS, because what it means is that we have joined up thinking now around how we each support each other in the health and safety ecosystem, and who we can connect to when we do have challenges around that as well. And then thirdly is that, I'm in a very luxurious position, because as an auditor, every day I go and do an audit, I get to sit with other people and see their work and see how they do things, and understand their innovations and ideas and their challenges. And that's not a position that everyone gets to enjoy. And I'm just selling auditing here again for a minute. But it's about creating those relationships, because they're absolutely awesome. The things that you learn from truck drivers and operational staff just doing their job is absolutely fabulous. Again, it's about understanding that bigger picture and how we kind of fit into it.
Yeah, again, sorry, a couple of things there. Sorry, Des, just take a seat, mate. In fact, put yourself on mute, brother. Robyn and I've got this.
Yeah, we're sorted.
Couple of things on that, and I've got to be honest, that's also where I've really enjoyed moving into the management space, to be fair, in the safety game, because when you start out as an advisor, as very technical, like you said, and often, yes, you're going and you're engaging with the people, which is great, but often it's around trying to address an issue, or it's about trying to find a solution, or it's about, there's generally something you're trying to achieve through that interaction. And that's just the nature of the role, right? Like, you're generally, unfortunately, often called in because, you need to look at something, or somebody's identified something, and, yada, yada. But what I've really enjoyed as a manager, and I've had it over the last couple of days, although now my inbox is chocker, but I get to go and hang out with the people and just hang out with the people, right? I get to go in there with no other, there's no other reason apart from just chew the fat, right? And really get to understand what's working for them and what's not working for them. And I don't want to get all, hold hands and sit around a tree and sing Kumbaya, but holistically just have good conversations with people about all aspects of what's going on, what's happening. And I find that I get to do that more now in a management role, probably than I do in my previous role. So interested in your thoughts on that as you've moved through your, I can't believe it's 20 years, because phenomenal. But yeah, interested to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think, just having that opportunity for connection with people across an organisation. And I think as we mature in our careers again, we have to develop, as I mentioned before, we have to develop that skill. So how can we talk to everyone on the shop floor, all the way through to how do we communicate with our officers and with our governance board? And so the skill set that we need now is completely different to what we've needed before. And I think what I found so useful about the journal is there's a couple of really good articles in there, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head, where it was about the understanding the health and safety systems. I think I wrote it down.
Was that Chris Peace's article?
No, it was the systemic failures and sociological insights and the role of ACC in insurance dynamics. And I think articles like that are incredibly useful just to inform that broader understanding. So when you do talk to the management and the executives and so forth. But it's important also not to lose that light touch around operational staff and how they're feeling and how they're working and what it looks like for them. What I think the journal does is provide a range of perspectives, and if we dig them all and dig them all out and have a look through them all, there's generally something that kind of speaks to what we're doing at the moment, dependent, relative to the level that we're talking to. So I think there's lots of opportunity to understand the different relationships that health and safety professionals have within the organisation.
Yeah, no, cool. Talking about relationships, I don't want to make Des continue to feel like a third wheel in this great conversation that you and I are having. I'll share mine first, but I'm really interested to understand what was your favourite time, your most favourite moment at the World Congress over in Sydney. Mine happened to be at a precisely 11:45 p.m. At the closing function, mosh pitting with a group of international health and safety professionals to an Australian cover band. I mean, it was it was awesome. But apart from that, I mean, what was your favourite moment engaging with? And it was so cool being so close, right? To home, very accessible. I mean, I would definitely look to go to another one, I think. So what was your favourite time in Sydney?
Gosh, I just loved the whole thing. I honestly, I was there first thing in the morning. I attended everything I could possibly attend as well. I think the party was pretty cool because I get, we just won't mention too much around that. I got to actually sit with some of the regulatory team from the UK, and we spent quite a lot of time chatting over, I don't know, I can't even quite remember what we were drinking, but an absolutely fabulous time talking about the regulatory environment and the challenges that we were having and the challenges that they were having. And it was just so insightful. And I think I learned from that is that they've got the same challenges as us. They might be at slightly different stages of that, but the challenges are exactly the same. So it was just fabulous to connect with people from around the world. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that too. It's interesting you touch on that. I'm very lucky in my current role where I report into an Australian team and work very closely with an Australian team. And yeah, like you said, often we talk about, and I've been having quite a number of these conversations, and again, particularly around ACC, where we go, oh, you don't understand, we've got ACC, nobody understands ACC. But you start listening to some of the Australians talk around their workers' compensation and, but they got the same challenges, right? Just because it's called something different and it's potentially administered in a slightly different way, doesn't mean that they don't have the same challenges that we have, right? Because again, they're still dealing with people. They're dealing with people that are injured. They're dealing with some people that, will try to, intentionally milk the system. You're dealing with people that, it's all very, very similar, but which has been fantastic to be part of those conversations.
I think, I have a love-hate relationship with ACC. Obviously, I work for ACC like probably most people in health and safety at some stage in their career. I love ACC in that it is our own New Zealand insurance agency. But as a health and safety professional, I worry a little bit that our no fault, no blame approach to it doesn't necessarily drive some of the improvements that we've seen, like, for example, in Australia or other cultures around the world as well. And I still don't think we've tried to think, my personal opinion is that we've tried to think about how we look the same as Australia, instead of going, actually, we are different to Australia. What does that mean? What other controls or what other levers can we pull to make sure that we are minimising the impact of that no blame approach that ACC has? And one of the things I did last year it was, bless ACC, is I OIA'd them for information around it was the workplace safety evaluation. Do you remember that? Do you remember the workplace safety evaluation program? So that was probably, I want to say, stopped about 7 or 8 years ago. And what that allowed was for ACC to be able to look at the claim rates of employers and then target them through audit and then through penalties if they didn't play ball around it. And when I OA'd ACC, they haven't actually had that system in place for more than 5 years. And so what that means is that even our poor performers that ACC can identify, they're not necessarily doing anything about them. They're taking a more broader perspective from it. And I think that we need to think about a multi-levered approach. So in other words, targeting those key industries that ACC needs to focus on and alongside WorkSafe, but also we need to look at these poor performance and go, okay, we need to hold you to account a little bit more than just some of the increased levies. We need to do a little bit more work around you. And I don't think we're doing that as much as we could, which I think would be useful in terms of just balancing it off a little bit. I also spoke to some insurance companies a while ago, and they're just not interested. So because ACC covers workplace injuries, there's no interest by insurance companies whatsoever to even consider whether they're harming the businesses that they're insuring, whether they're harming more people than others. It just doesn't even enter into the equation for them.
Just on that note, really quickly before I hand back to Des, just a big thank you to ACC as I prepare to race off after this interview to get my shoulder checked out.
Oh, yes.
for doing something stupid that I probably shouldn't have done. So no blame all the way. Thank you, ACC.
Yep.
Des, back to you, mate.
Thanks very much, Brent, for the opportunity to get a word in. I just want to rewind a few points ago. Is Robyn made a really good characterization of health and safety as being a bit of an ecosystem, and I think that's a really useful characterization because we draw all these boxes around ourselves. You know, I'm an occupational hygienist, I'm a general practitioner, you know, I'm an auditor, whatever the box is. But really, we all have to draw on the expertise and knowledge of each other, and that's an ongoing thing. And I think the journal really serves that purpose on sharing those cross-disciplinary approaches. You know, we talked about sociological approaches in one of the articles as well. Is there any blind spots? Is there anything looming there that you think we need to address as a profession?
Mate, that's a Friday afternoon. You do not ask that question on a Friday afternoon, man. Honestly, Des.
Well, I had all this time to prepare the question. That's the trap, you see.
Yeah.
You can say no comment. You can say no comment.
No. He's got a good point. He's got a good point. I would have to say that we're not looking forward enough about what's coming. You know, in terms of some of the changes that Minister Brooke Van Velden is putting forward, and kind of in the short term, what the implications are going to be for health and safety professionals in New Zealand in terms of the things that she's put forward as part of the consultation, but also more broadly around, as I mentioned before, what's going to happen with AI? What does that mean for us? And in actual fact, probably about 3 weeks ago, I was looking at, I was being shown something from the US, and this piece of technology. So you insert your incident, and then based on the information that it's got about your business, it gives you 3 options as to what your corrective actions are going to be based on the incident that you've done. And I looked at that and I thought, okay, they won't be very good. And to be fair, up till now, ChatGPT and Copilot, they're like a good intern, but they're not that good. You know, they're not a health and safety professional, just like a smart intern. But I looked at this technology and I went, wow, those are exactly the recommendations that I would have put forward for that particular incident. Wow. And I think it was at that moment I realized that we need to be ahead of the game. We need to be proactive about what this means for us as health and safety consultants, but also in terms of health and safety professionals within our own organisations. What is this going to mean for us? Does this mean that small to medium employers are no longer going to need health and safety consultants? So what does that mean for the profession as a whole? Do we need to upskill further? And if we do, what is that going to be? Do we need to how are we going to learn to use this technology? So I worry a little that we're not looking forward fast enough or far enough to know what's coming. That would probably be my big one.
Well,
What a great
Robyn,
answer.
I just want to give you some assurance that at the Circus of Safety, we are looking as far ahead as we possibly can, because I do nothing post-show. It is all done through ChatGPT and AI. So, yes, some of us are trying to look ahead. Some of us are trying. It might be because of our laziness and our sheer unwillingness to want to do anything productive with our days, but some of us are trying to look ahead. So hopefully, fingers crossed for the rest of the profession.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really insightful piece of feedback, because earlier in the show you mentioned the idea of the profession and the professional development being simultaneously reflective and also looking ahead to a bit of foresight. And I think you just highlighted an interesting point, but that foresight needs to be both individual and for the profession as well.
Yep.
I think that's an important takeaway.
Yep. And the other point that I would put out is, and this is better spoken by Greg Deasley, who wrote a really good article in Gaps in Leadership and Cultural Intelligence. Now he's kind of the expert around that at the moment. It's not something that's in my wheelhouse, particularly in terms of my knowledge around it. But I think that cultural intelligence piece is going to be really useful for us moving forward in the future as well. But I worry a little bit that there's so many things that we need to be across that as health and safety professionals. What do we choose? There's so many things that we need to be better at, or look at, or read, or learn about. How do we actually choose them? So I guess it circles back to our professional development and coming back and go, okay, where do I want to be in 10 years? Does that include cultural intelligence? Do I need this as a skill in terms of my development, or am I going to stay purely technical and I need more occupational hygiene? So it circles back around to that, understanding where you want to be in that professional development cycle for individuals.
Just to show that I'm not only about headbanging and drinking alcohol, I think I also want to just hone back in, and I know Des touched on it again earlier. I think that's where maybe this isn't, yes, there is an individual aspect to this looking ahead, but I really want to hone in on the professional aspect of it. And I guess that's something that we here on the show actually are starting to try and do. It's about creating that ecosystem, and you've identified you can't be everything to everybody, right? We can't have all those specialist skill sets, but if we as a profession acknowledge that and kind of work more as an ecosystem where, like you said, hey, reach out to, hey, Greg, can you just have a look over this from a cultural intelligence point of view? Hey, Robyn, can you have a look at this from a compliance and an audit point of view? Hey, Des, I'm not sure what I'd reach out to Des for, but you know what I mean? Like Des, have I used too many words in this paragraph? I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like, and maybe that's just something that we because often there's still that competitive nature out there, right? Where people are trying to hunt for work and people are trying to pay their mortgage, and I get all that, but are we serving our customers better by acknowledging that we do work in an ecosystem? We can't be everything to everybody, and we actually need to have, again, linking back to those connections that we spoke about earlier. If we really want to serve our customers better and provide a safer environment, we really should be working as an ecosystem as opposed to individuals.
Absolutely. And the thing I love particularly about the journal is that you can pretty much Google anyone's name and flick them, find their email address, either on LinkedIn or Google or whatever, or you can find somebody that knows those people. So if you ever want to go to those articles and go, actually, Greg, I'd like more information, or Kerry, I'd like more information, you can contact those people because they're New Zealand people, they're real people that have actually done this research. So we've got the ability to actually connect with the people who wrote these articles versus some of the ones that we might read as part of our studies that have come from overseas. I think I like that. And of course, we could just email Chris and ask him to point us in the right direction anyway.
Well, that's how we got your contact details. This is really awkward. Des, back to you. This is all you, nothing to do with me.
Well, look, just sort of wrapping up and doing so by looking forward, what's your vision for future editions of the journal? Is there some particular themes or areas of research you'd like to see more of?
Well, I think that's reflective of the stage in life of my career that I'm probably in. I'm really interested in a lot more around the governance aspects of it, and I'm also quite interested in the kind of political implications of of decision making at higher levels, and what that means for health and safety professionals. But that doesn't mean that's going to fit everyone. And I think that's what I like about the journal. It has a variety of articles covering a wide range of topics, which means that no matter what stage you are, you've got something in there that's going to interest you. So I'm just looking forward to actually developing the journal as a repository of fabulous articles that are New Zealand based and have New Zealand context that we can use as a source. So I think we're up to, it must be Volume 2 Edition 1 that has just been released on the 28th on World Workers' Day. And, I can just see that that's just going to continue over time as well. And we're going to have this fabulous resource that we can access free of charge to go and have a look and see articles that are relevant to what we're doing at the right time of our careers as well.
Fantastic. I think that's a good point at which to wrap this up. So Robyn, a big thank you for joining us and to helping us unpack not only the first edition of the journal, but also the deeper purpose behind it. If you'd like to read Robyn's full editorial or explore the other contributions in Volume 1, we will drop the link to the journal in the show notes, or maybe ChatGPT can do that for us, Brent.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely.
As always, thanks. Sorry, Robyn. Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing. I just have to give a really good plug for it. So the New Zealand Journal of Health and Safety Practice, you need to sign up as a reader. It's free of charge, and it means you get all the notifications when the next editions are released, and you get that information as well. So I just encourage everyone to sign up, and you might not need it straight away, but it's there as a resource for New Zealanders in New Zealand based. So I think we take advantage of it while we can. And I know Chris would absolutely love me to do a plug for any authors. So if you've done a piece of research recently, or you've written a really good case study, or you've just done something that's you think is really important to share with others in New Zealand, please reach out to Chris and send your information to them so that he can put it in the journal as well.
He is a little bit picky. I did try suggesting that maybe this show was an academic article. He said no, but that's okay.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
okay. Don't
Editor's right. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Robyn. If this conversation has sparked something for you, share it with a colleague, leave us a review, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories from the front line and beyond. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Circus of Safety.
Rock on, party people.
Thank you.
See you later.